And as I look at careers and you look at the experiences that you want to gather as part of your journey, if you start to view it more as I'm getting different experiences and they can be up, they can be across, they can be down, they can be sideways, you start to sort of bring in this rich tapestry of experiences that you have. And it's not a straight, I've moved up the ladder and I started at position X, and then I've taken the next position, and then my supervisor, and then the manager, and the senior manager, and you're sort of moving your way, linearly through the ranks, as it were. And given sort of how people want to value their career, I think it's having that perspective of, a jungle gym can be sort of a fun place. I mean, if you think about it, when kids go to the playground, they don't run up to the first ladder they find and want to climb the ladder. They run up to the jungle gym and they want to climb all over it and try new things and see the world from different perspectives. And so I've sort of tried to take more of that approach to my own career progression throughout, my many years.
Yeah. And can you give an example for a moment in your career where you actually took the jungle gym approach for your career progression?
Well, I think there's a couple of points in my career where I've done something different than is sort of the traditional sort of, I'm in computer, software engineering. And so it's like you become an engineer, you become a manager, senior manager, director, and you sort of move your way through. I took an opportunity to become a chief of staff, which is not in the engineering rubric of the career ladder. And so I was a chief of staff to the CEO of eBay at the time. It's a very different role. I saw the business from a very different lens. And then in coming out of that, instead of going back into engineering, I went into a role where I worked in cross-border trade and tried to find business opportunities and ways to facilitate making cross-border trade more easier for our sellers, easier for buyers, all the logistics that go into it, which is not an engineering role. And is it a step back? Is it a step forward? No, it was more of like a step sideways and see the world from a very different side, and gain that perspective. I have eventually went back to engineering, but I think that was one area where it was like, I took a risk and I did something that was very not engineering focused, to better understand, one, how I liked it, to better understand what it looked like from that perspective. And then went back into engineering, with that richness of my understanding of how do my counterparts on the other side of the conversation, what are their motivations? What are they looking for?
Yeah, obviously in your case it wasn't, but that's kind of the things that goes in my head when you talked.
Can it prohibit you from going back? I don't think so. I think you always run the risk of whatever is top of your CV is what people say, oh, well, this is who you are. And creating your own narrative, creating that story. If, looking through my CV, I've had many individuals say, please help me understand how you pulled all this together and what does that look like and what took you on these very different journeys. And so it's sort of human nature to say, oh, okay, this is who you are, this is what you're doing right now, therefore that's the type of person you are, instead of sort of going further down into understanding. So you do have to push a little to ensure that your narrative is being expressed in a way that sort of brings all of that together. If you are passionate about, like I found out through the course of that career opportunity, that I love working in engineering, and to be perfectly honest, I wasn't the greatest at doing sort of the business side of it. It wasn't where my passion was. It wasn't how I sort of woke up in the morning and thought about the problems I wanted to solve. And so because of that, I was like, okay, fine. Well, then I will look for, and I'll be open and opportunistic as to what that next engineering role would look like. As opposed to it has to be this and it has to be in this field and I have to have it, this size team or whatever it was. I was like, well, I know I want to get back into that and I want to, so I'll be opportunistic of what that sort of translates to.